Hi everyone, and welcome again to Nettle, the go-to place to learn about finance, econometrics, data analytics, and much, much more. My name is Sava. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the notification button below so that you never miss fresh videos and tutorials you might be interested in. Today we're going to investigate a pretty fundamental concept in time series econometrics, financial time series analysis, risk management, and valuation, in particular option valuation, which is the jump diffusion model. And to start with, we'll investigate the simplest jump diffusion model possible with a single normally distributed jump. And that would make it very much similar to mixture models that we have investigated in one of the previous videos with a simple twist to it. We have got the S&P 500 tracker fund prices for 10 years as our data, and we can calculate daily returns by just using prices today and yesterday times 100 minus 100 to get a nice percentage day by day. And obviously, we can start our modeling by considering the diffusion process, the normal distribution modeling that would typically be applicable to a case like that. So we would calculate the mean of the return data, roughly 6 basis points per day, and population standard deviation. Again, for maximum likelihood consistency, we're using population and not sample calculations here. And this would be the diffusion process, essentially just normal distribution applied to return data. Quite simply, and now let's calculate the likelihood or the probability density of our diffusion process, so normal distribution of our x, so our return, mean, lock it, standard deviation, that's the volatility, we'll lock it, and 0 for density function and not the cumulative distribution function. And we see what the density is for our various observations. However, what the jump diffusion model incorporates is that sometimes, with some probability, you would have a jump component in your return process. So with some probability, there would be a observation with greater or smaller mean and additional volatility. So we'll have a jump with mean and volatility, and we'll first of all assume it's 0, so there is no chance there will be a jump, and its mean and volatility are 0, so basically nothing happens, and the probability of no jump is obviously then 100%. But if we do believe there will be a jump, we can model it quite straightforwardly. And here we need to assume that the jump has the same distribution, namely the normal distribution, as the diffusion process, and that it is independent of the diffusion movement. That allows us to calculate the likelihood subject to a jump happening in a very straightforward way. So we can input the normal distribution, input our return, our x. The mean will just be the sum of two means, so the mean of the diffusion process plus the average size of the jump. So the volatility of our return subject to a jump happening is the square root of the variance of our return subject to a jump happening. And because we are assuming that the diffusion process and the jump process, or the diffusion component and the jump component, are independent, then the variance of their sum is the sum of variances. So that's volatility squared, that's the variance of the diffusion process, plus volatility squared for the jump component or the jump process. That correctly measures, subject to independence, the volatility of the stock return subject to a jump happening. And obviously 0 for the density function and not the cumulative distribution function. The likelihood subject to those two possibilities is obviously the probability weighted density. So it's a sum product of the diffusion density and jump density, weighted by the probabilities of the jump not happening and the jump happening. So with this probability, it's just the normal diffusion process. With this probability, it's a combination of the two. And note that here we model the probability of jump happening as uniform across the entire sample. So the constant probability of the jump happening. That's a very simple model here. And for the log likelihood, we take the natural logarithm of the probability weighted density, and using an error function, returning a large negative number, say minus 1000, if there is an error in there. And we can calculate the log likelihood of the process without any jumps. Again, because of how the normal distribution corresponds with maximum likelihood, we know that this is the maximum likelihood estimation results with no jumps. However, we could run solver and verify it. So maximize log likelihood by changing the mean and volatility of the diffusion process without making unconstrained variables non-negative. And we see that indeed, with the mean equal to the average and the volatility equal to population standard deviation, we get the maximum likelihood estimate of the diffusion process. Now, let's see what happens if we introduce a jump. So let's say with a 50% chance, there will be a jump with a volatility of 1. In this case, we'll see that the density will change, reflecting the different distribution of the return subject to a jump. But what we also can model quite straightforwardly using the jump diffusion model is the exposed probability of a jump happening. Simply because we know what the return on the day was, we can infer how likely it was that this return came from a diffusion process and how likely it was that this return occurred due to a jump happening. And for this, we can use the Bayes theorem, which has very direct and important application to this evaluation. So exposed probability of no jump or jump is simply the densities of diffusion and jump multiplied by their ex ante probabilities or their total probabilities divided by the total likelihood. So what we see here, for instance, is that with the return being quite close to 0, quite close to the diffusion mean in this case, it's more likely that this observation resulted from a diffusion process rather from a jump process because of volatility of this observation being low. And so the Bayes theorem has updated our priors, and from this observation we know that with a 50-50 chance of diffusion and jump happening, it's more likely that the jump has not happened because the evidence suggests that the volatility of observation is quite low. And we can apply this throughout the sample and, for instance, see when it says 1 or otherwise. Here, for instance, the return in terms of magnitude is pretty high, which is consistent with volatility being higher than average. So on this day, the jump probability is high. However, these are just some random jump characteristics we have inputted. Perhaps we could estimate what are the optimal characteristics, the best fitting characteristics of the jump process and the diffusion process, and see how the model interprets various observations in terms of jumps happening or not happening in those. Let's go back to the case when with no jumps and save its log likelihood and number of parameters. So here we've got two parameters, just mean and volatility. And we'll be able to compare its fit with a simple jump diffusion model. Now we can go to data solver and specify our task. So we maximize log likelihood, and now we're not only changing the mean and the volatility of the diffusion process, but also mean volatility and probability of the jump. And we don't put any constraints in there, and we stick with the nonlinear gradient descent, and we see that the model now has converged to an optimal solution. We see that the probability of a jump occurring is around 16%, and it's a negative jump on average, and it has a very high volatility. So with 16% chance, the average return will be actually 0.13 minus 0.43, so roughly minus 0.3, so it will be essentially a negative jump, and the volatility will be much higher. So with 84% chance, the normal diffusion process with quite higher than average mean and very low volatility is ongoing, but with 16% chance, we are in a negative average and high volatility regime. So that quite nicely models market dynamics. Most of the time, things go well and smoothly, but sometimes we enter a very volatile state with negative expected returns. And what we see is how the probabilities of the jump happening evolve through time. For instance, in the first observation, the return is very close to 0, so it's very unlikely that the jump happens, only 5%. However, here, when the return is very high, again, in terms of magnitude, it's very likely that that was the jump day, that on this day the jump actually happened. 86% chance it did so. If we look for other similar cases, here for instance, there was a negative return with high magnitude, so here it's very likely that the jump has indeed happened, and we can study the dynamics like this. Again, this is very similar to a mixture model that essentially combines two different distributions with different probabilities. However, the jump diffusion framework can be extended to accommodate much more complex jump processes. And that's what we're going to investigate in further videos. Now let's evaluate whether the jump diffusion model is better than the simple diffusion model. Again, we input the likelihood. Now we have got 5 parameters, so means and volatilities of the two processes and the probability of a jump. So it's 5 parameters, and we can evaluate this using either information criteria or likelihood ratio test, simply because we have a baseline model and a more complex model with 3 additional parameters. We can use a likelihood ratio test. The chi-squared statistic for it will be 2 times the improvement in log likelihood. So we'll have a chi-squared stat of roughly 814, and we can evaluate for significance using a right-tailed chi-square distribution with the number of degrees of freedom equal to the number of additional parameters, so 5 minus 2, that will be 3 degrees of freedom. We'll see that it's a very significant result, so it means that the fit of the model with jumps is substantially better than the fit of the model without. Or we could use information criteria. For that we need to know the sample size, just the count of returns. And for the Akaike criterion, we penalize for the number of parameters and reward for log likelihood, so 2 times number of parameters minus 2 times log likelihood. And for the Schwartz or Bayesian criterion, it is the natural logarithm of the sample size times number of parameters, so a stronger penalty for the number of parameters, rewarding simpler models rather than more complex models. However, we see that both information criteria agree that the model with jumps is much better than the model without. And that's just the starting point of our evaluation of jump diffusion models. In the next video, we'll learn about the Merton model with Poisson distributed jumps that found a lot of application in option valuation. Please leave a like on this video if you found it helpful. In the comments below, I'm eager to see any further suggestions for videos you would like me to record. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.